August 25th, 1994, T-15. Amazing, but pain. I've been nauseous for so long I don't remember feeling anything else. So what, can't I sleep at night or stay awake at day? It's unbelievable how strong the temptation is to tell someone, anyone, hey, I'm gonna be dead in just a few weeks. I feel like a horse getting close to the stable. Every day I put the barrel of my .38 against my soft palate and pull the trigger. I don't even flinch or blink anymore. Now I find myself having to wait another 2 weeks to make the pain stop. What a fucking miserable existence this is. The plug got pulled 2.5 months ago and I just go on like some vegetable that can't feed itself. It's funny, I have more than enough resolve, will, and strength to blow my fucking brain all over the Pacific, but I don't feel like I can survive for the next 2 weeks until I can die. Even Flo wants to plan things for the future, and I can't tell even her that there is no future. This is the worst I have ever been, and what am I waiting for? To get back from Mexico. Pathetic. August 26, 1994, T-14. I'll be arriving in hell about the same time Devin will be arriving in Alaska. I'm relieved that she's leaving the same day I am. I was thinking that she was to fly up on the 13th. The news of my suicide would have ruined her trip. Likewise with Amy. She'll be in Dallas when I check out. Today Dwayne told me his brother just died. Israel is pressing me for a status report on my emotional state. Flo knows something is up and will probably start some pointed questioning. This is destroying me. I'm starting to get scared that I'm going to fuck up again. Man, that is not an option. I boxed up Devin's parting gifts today. I'm going to get all my letters written and try to find an engineer for James and Iz, and try to tie up loose ends ASAP. I'm scared shitless something is going to go wrong. I just want to do this right, and this miserable shit completely disappear from the world, feed some sharks, and not fuck up again. What's breaking my heart about thinking of people realizing I'm dead is not people like James, Dev, Nico, my folk, etc. It's folks like Iz, Eddie, and Flo who are looking forward to something specific with a date attached. I can't explain why I can't commit. Why can't this just be over? August 27th, 1994, T-13. I heard "Show Us Tomorrow" last night. I'm glad it will be out there as a mark of my abilities that needs no excuses. My plan feels easier to pull off today. My death boat fits easily into my Best Buy bag. My .38 fits okay into my shaver bag. I'm going to look totally inconspicuous in a Greyhound or a taxi, just another vacation traveler. After today's lesson with James, I have come to a conclusion. He knows, Flo knows, and Devin knows. Last Tuesday I finished my last conversation ever with Dev by saying goodbye. I had never said that word to her before. I didn't even think about it until after I'd hung up the phone. I promised Iz I'd stop smoking in 2 weeks. How very cryptically dry of me. Flo asked what I hoped to get out of my work. While she really wanted me to elaborate on my answer when I said nothing, I couldn't explain that the only hopes I have left in the world are that my loved ones have happy lives and that my body is never found. When Dev's mom told me that Devin would never get over it if I offed myself, she didn't realize that she wouldn't have been talking to me then if it hadn't been for Devin. Devin was the only thing that kept me around for the last 2.5 years. And just as she could not have a future with me, I cannot have a future without her. She left me for something better, and I'm just doing the same. August 28, 1994, T-12.5. Here I sit again at 3:52 a.m. wide awake with no hope for serious sleep. I haven't really tasted food for over 2.5 months, nor in that time have I been able to benefit from a healthy sleeping pattern. I'll never see another Simpsons episode. Doesn't matter, really. I've only seen 2 since Devin left me, and I didn't have it in me to laugh at them anymore. Something that is funny to me, though, is that I'm going to spend my last day under the name Phil Sharkey. Now that's funny. God, this nausea is overwhelming. I know there will be a lot of people crying over my suicide, and that kind of bothers me. I wish they would, instead, be relieved that I would never again have to suffer through this emotional cancer. Tamara will be angry because I betrayed those around me. Dev's mom, Iz, and Joyce will be incredulous that I didn't just hand all my concerns over to God and let him pick up the tab. My family will be destroyed and feel they should have done more. Others will simply chalk it up to an inability to cope with life's little disappointments. But the daily trials of life don't mean shit after spending a couple of decades wishing on a daily basis that I would not be forced to endure another day. August 28, 1994, T-12. Things are coming together. Today I checked out my ticket to the water's edge. Seems to be easy enough. Now the question is, how much of this journal did Flo read before I stopped her? She asked me tonight if I'm impatient to go to Mexico. When I tried to look enthused, she wanted to know what was in my head. Again, I can't explain that Mexico represents something else standing in the way between my unending death and my lunch date with the fishes. My selfishness is kicking in. Can't remember not feeling the need to be everybody's caretaker. Now I realize that everyone is going to be just fine. No matter what I do before I die, they have the desire and will to live, that spark that makes them look into the future and see themselves in it. Living in the dreams they're investing in now. James with his health, Devin with her happy marriage and successful career, Israel with his stardom. I have never, ever been there. How is it that diseased, starving people in Zaire feel they have enough to live for, that they struggle to survive? And the most emotionally crippling realization for me is that I am still alive. 12 days seems an eternity right now. August 29th, 1994 T-11. All I wanted was to get some deep sleep. I guess I should be careful about what I wish for, lest that wish come true. Boy, did I sleep and dream of Devin. And wake up crying twice. Nice choice, waking misery or sleeping misery. James asked me what I'm thinking about so much that's driving me crazy. So should I tell him I'm visualizing my somewhat complex, if not bizarre, suicide? Most people respond somewhere between amused and disgust to my answer of perfect. When they ask me that ever so delightful question, so, how are you today? Should I explain that if I take as much as 5 seconds to think honestly about that query, I will collapse into a helpless pile of hysterical human rubbish? One day I made a playfully serious hand gesture of pulling the trigger of a gun against my temple while this was sitting next to me. He must have picked up on the sincerity of that, because he protested. Come on, man. You're too valuable of a human being for that. So what does it mean when my life is an asset to others, but a total foreclosure to myself? I think it means my bankruptcy is way overdue. God damn it. I want this shit to be over. I am hoping that this new thing with Robin turns out to be significant. I want to think that he will have someone of note to cushion the blow I'm about to land on him, that she is not just another example of the laws of nature at work, the laws that require the Jameses and Dennises of the world to attract and secure the best example of the females of the species in order to assure the survival of the fittest. In human nature, that equals the blessed and the beautiful. And while I'm hoping that James and Robin make the connection, I can only wish that I could hope for the same thing for Dev and Dennis. The truth is, every time I think of them together, I completely disintegrate mentally, spiritually, emotionally. I don't even have the strength left to hope good things for her. As if she needs it. She is one of the blessed and beautiful. I wish I could get past the pain long enough to feel grateful to her for intentionally breaking the laws of nature for the 2 years she wasted on me. The only problem is whenever I think of her and her place in this world, it always reminds me of me and my place in it. Since I cannot bear my place in the world, I have no choice but to take my place out of it. Life sucks, then you feed fish. August 29th, 1994, 10:30 p.m. T-11. Tonight I wrote goodbye letters to James, Iz, Patty, and Flo. I know I'll sleep tonight. I am totally beaten and drained, fatigued. How many times did I cry today? 5? I lose count. Then I heard Dev's message. Hi, guys. I was just thinking about you. Though I know she's doing her best to be kind, the fact that I have been relegated to the status of hi, guys strikes a blow so hard I can't stand under my own weight. Tomorrow, letters to Dwayne, Desert Schools Credit Union, and the bank with my Visa account. 6 more days in the hole, 4 days on my last vacation, a day of traveling, then a 90-minute escape route. Voyage to the bottom of the sea. As Dev and I talked at LAX, I knew my life was over. As we talked on the grass in San Jose, I knew this time it would be a 38 slug. Every time I hear a message from her, call the doctor, I think I'm gonna crash. Then the doctor shows up. Yeah, that's right. He hands me a hollow point .38 shell. Then he says to me, take one of these and don't worry about calling me in the morning. August 30th, 1994 T-10. How amazing, last night I knew I would be able to sleep. At 3:30 this morning I still couldn't. Like I told Devin once, I think God must be real after all. I think he's getting in his last licks before he sends me straight to hell. When I die I'll come back as a toilet bowl. Only one of the 4 light bulbs still works in my bathroom. The metaphor I'm interested in seeing develop is whether or not it lasts longer than I do. All in all, today wasn't so bad. I only choked up once, and that was when I was writing my goodbye letters to Meg. But at least all my letters are finished. I sold all my CDs yesterday and got $132. This is a good feeling of freedom. Only 5 more days in Phoenix, 4 days in San Carlos, and 1 more on the road to deliverance. God, I am so tired. August 31st, 1994 T-9. Dang, just 9 more. That single digit feels damn good. I don't feel like I'm unqualified to horn in on the civil rights chant of free at last. Free at last. Free at last. After all, I have been shut out of the joys of life as much as any racial minority. However, my mood and spirits are lifting dramatically. The prospect of death being so near is an intoxicating feeling. I actually am starting to feel good about my future because I only have to deal with another week of it. Ha ha ha, Phil Sharkey. The other thing I've decided is that even if my ocean vessel plan doesn't pan out, I'll just do it in a motel room. I just don't give a shit anymore. Hey, I don't want to mess with anyone's mental well-being, but it's them or me. Uh-oh. It's time to go to the movie, alone. Wow, here it is 3 hours later, and where did my good mood go? Leaving the theater, I was bombarded by the thoughts I am more familiar with. Thoughts like, if Devin had been in her heaviest crunch periods in school, and I left her, could she have made it through without me? And is it so weak of me to not be able to make it through my crunch period of existence after she left me? It's so easy for other people to think, oh, come on, Russ, there are a lot of fish in the sea. The thing is, I know all about all the fish in the sea. I will be falling into their lunch platter at the same time Dev will be falling into Dennis's arms. Suddenly, the demobilizing crying Jag returns. I was a broken down heap with no gas when the Devon Mobile Rescue Unit came by. She kept repairing me and filling my tank as long as she was with me. Once again, I'm broken down and out of gas. I return to something I've said before. She can no longer do what's necessary to keep me going, and nor can I. I know she was no more responsible for my first suicide than she is this one, but goddamn it, why did she have to come into my world? I could have checked out 2 years ago. I had plenty of pain then. Now I have all that with the most agonizing experience of my wretched existence piled on top of it. Shit, 9 fucking days. I don't feel like I can do it, but I know I have to. A world filled with hatred, anger, racism, pain, despair, power-tripping control fucks. The relentless sentence of having to wake up every day. Fuck it, I'm out of here. September 2nd, 1994 T-7. The old familiar role returns. 90 minutes of sleep this morning before the 8-hour drive to San Carlos. Is Flo now the 4th person in my bed that I've bailed on to sleep elsewhere? I just can't remember. So Amy will be off making her national contacts on September 9th and no doubt be pissed I didn't return her calls when she gets back. What the hell is going to happen with Watson's thing? I wish I cared. San Carlos is the coolest so far. Now, if I can only prevent myself from crying on Flo's shoulder again, literally. Too drunk, too smoked, too full, gotta sleep, if that's possible. September 3rd, 1994 T-6. Oh well, it was a nice and noble effort. I had told myself that my heartbreakingly empathetic days were as historic as my life itself, but the truth is, as long as I am alive, I will continue to feel others' pain as surely as that of my own. So now I lie here in a luxurious hotel in a Mexican paradise, writing and crying. Listening to Flo lament about the obviously universal pain of living brought the ineffectively stored shit in my own emotional closet tumbling down on me in a big way. An escape to San Carlos, no matter how therapeutic, reminds me of a poignant Western wisdom. No matter where you go, there you are. I don't ask much. Just let me have the rest of this vacation to enjoy, then I'll do 3 more days of my sentence. That is not such an unfair wish. Last night I lay in bed with Flo trying to figure out what I could do to make her world a little easier to handle, and the funny thing is, she's been trying to figure out how to do the same for me. She tells me it's worth fighting for. I hope that she doesn't have the spark now that the fates allow her to find it soon. For me, no prize is worth the fight anymore, and being with someone who is still fighting only makes me long to hear the bell ring very soon. Game over, man. Game over. September 4th, 1994 T-5. The patterns of repetition are uncanny. Here I sit with Montezuma's revenge on the last night of an escape to San Carlos. This is the close of my last failure. The last time I was here spending my last night was in the latter stages of a marriage that I failed miserably with Donna. This time I sat on the balcony crying as I wondered how can anyone stand to be around me when I can't stand to be around me. I think Flo is the first person to ever really understand what it's like to be in this head. Like before, I have now given some guitars away, written a bunch of letters, gotten a plan worked out, and assembled all the pieces I need. I could have appreciated my last few days a little more without Senor Montezuma showing up. What the fuck? It wouldn't be appropriate if my last days in hell were pleasant ones. Oh, yeah. The patterns. The last time I was honest about my plan was with a funny, blunt German woman whom I stole away with for a couple of weekend getaways right before I checked out. This time, a couple of weekend getaways with a funny, blunt French woman whose godmother talks, and that's a lot like Patty's mom. The clock is ticking and I no longer think of how many days I have before checkout time, but how many sessions. 3 in the hole, maybe 3 at JAS. September 5th, 1994 T-4. How did I know this would happen? I arrived from San Carlos to find messages from the folks and Donna both. Putting off the return calls may prove difficult. I also returned to is wanting to do massive pre-pro and James telling me he doubted I would return at all. I think our ensuing, one-sided conversation was enough to let him realize that, yes, it is still coming. Now, how can I deal with this? The number of hours for me has now dipped below the 100 mark. Even Flo is expecting me to be around for another 2 or 3 weeks. Sorry, Flo, but I don't see us having our French dinner tomorrow. I should be picking up the tomorrow CDs. One goes into Dev's parting gifts, and her box is done. Today I packed up the travel bag for Phil Sharkey. Damn, this looks easy now. The only bitch I have is that James is off Friday AM. I'm going to have to get creative. September 6th, 1994 T-3. Okay, who put out the APB? The scenario I'm picturing is Dev and James on the phone when James says he doubts I'll return. Devin freaks, starts calling my folks. Nico? Who else? The message from my folks sounded extremely prompted. Does everyone have some kind of intervention in the works? Please, 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 Montezuma's revenge is too much to deal with as it is. Everybody just let me go in peace. I don't need challenges right now. So, how much snooping did James do in my private property while I was away? With a right peek at the wrong thing, he could certainly give enough info to someone to try to get in my way. I swear, if anyone comes swooping in to the rescue, we're going to have a real psycho scene on our hands. I really don't want to have to do this in a restaurant parking lot somewhere out on the Arizona road. Ha, I'm freaking again. This will go just fine. Jesus, I see Larry flying in again. That's okay, as long as he gets here after 9 o'clock on 9/9. 999. The number of the beast plus 50%. I really need to be saved from those who want to save me from myself. At least James has the right idea. He looks at me like I'm a ghost. September 7th, 1994 T-48 hours. It's like preventive maintenance on a car you wish you had never owned. Caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. The only prospect that is more dreadfully terrifying than taking my life is living it. Oh well, some people go through the absolute hell, pain, and terror of chemotherapy for months in the hope that they will be better off for it. So why am I whining over a little 12-hour excursion? The other thing is that I don't cry over the thought of pulling the trigger. I cry over the thought of having had an existence that gave me no realistic alternative. I know how crushing this is going to be to those I love. I don't think they know that I've been that crushed my entire fucking miserable life. Their pain will go away, so will mine. This was a day of lasts. My last work for is, my last message from Devin, my last load of laundry, etc. The letter from Dev told me 2 things. Appropriate for her. A. She has realized she will never see me again, and 2. She needed to be with Dennis so badly she left a week early. Item number 2 will be more than sufficient fuel to propel my little vessel to its uncharted destination. I can't help but think that everyone around me is waiting for the other shoe to drop, as if they see me and think, are you still here? God, I'm trying everything I can to do this right. I don't want to be one of those psycho nutcases who blows his head off in a park for some 9-year-old kid to find him the next day. I once told Lou Ann that the only 2 things in life that people can truly do for themselves are masturbation and suicide. It's sad that I only feel capable of one of those recently. If the fish have a sense of humor, they'll probably appreciate me bringing a whole new meaning to the word seafood. September 9th, 1994 T-12 hours. En route. I left the house 3 hours ago, and I've been looking over my shoulder ever since. As the bus drove past Highland, I took one last look and choked back tears as I whispered goodbye to James. It is so damned hot in this thing. I'm always hot. I hate it. Maybe a cool dip in the ocean is what I need. I feel like today I'm going to commit the same crimes against all my loved ones that Donna fell victim to a few years ago. I feel guilty and remorseful as hell. Motherfuck, I hate this. The asshole in front of me just reclined his seat through my ribcage. The AC is broke and the driver is an asshole. Christ, get me off of this planet. Too many humans in the world. Tonight too many -1. September 9th, 1994 T-3 hours. Final entry. Some closing thoughts. Of course, children and dogs love me. They don't know how to be offended. Being trapped with so many fat, rude, stupid, blowhard, worthless white trash inbred fucks for 9 hours on a bus with an ambient temperature of 100 degrees while some smelly lards is encroaching on my seat and yelling insults at the bus driver and bragging to everyone around him that you have to show these assholes who's boss is the perfect closing chapter for me. I didn't want to lie, but I had to. I didn't want to live, but I had to. I didn't want to die, but I had to.